Well, hey,
Hey,
how are you?
I'm good. How was your weekend? How was your Halloween?
It was good. I actually ended up getting invited to go down to the beach for a couple of
Oh, that's
days
right.
this past weekend, and so went down there for a few days, and
Did you come back Friday?
yeah,
Okay, that's what I thought.
and I took off Friday, um, and so it was nice. It was chilly at first, and then it ended up being really pretty, and then I didn't want to come home. So, but it was nice. A friend of mine that I've known for years invited me to come down. They had an extra bedroom. They rented this big house, and her family was there. But, as we're going to talk about today, adult kids,
Yeah.
come and go and have jobs and all of that. So I was lucky enough to have my own bedroom and really enjoyed my visit. And it was a nice little break.
Yeah, that's nice. The beach this time of year is so nice. It's not crowded. It's still fairly warm, and so it's just, well, we went during October when we
Yeah.
took the band down there. So it was great weather when we were sitting out on the beach. It was warm and, even it'd get a little cool at night, but yeah, it's so nice down there.
And you bringing that up, I mean, this is not a paid sponsorship, so just FYI, but I loved the van, and I know that that was kind of the prototype and one that you
Yeah.
guys use a lot. But listen, guys, if you can afford to get a van, you need to get one from Storyteller because we had the best time. We stayed at this like RV park. Lisa had rented a spot and had been there a few days and then invited me to come down for a
Yeah.
couple of days, as work would allow. And so I took off and went down. And this was 2 Octobers
Yeah,
ago.
it was 2 years ago.
And so she had the van backed up to the sand. I mean, we just got out of the van in the morning and walked right there on the sand.
Mm-hmm.
And we wore sweatshirts a little
In the
bit,
morning.
like in the
Yeah.
morning or whatever, or late at night. But for the most part, it was beautiful. And we would sit out there in our swimsuits
Mm-hmm.
all day. And it was just really nice. So if you can afford to get one, please do. And
Hey,
please
you can
buy it from
finance them.
Jeffrey.
You can finance them.
Yeah, financing available.
I actually have gone on their website, not Storytellers, but the RV park several times, like the past month or two, just seeing if they had vacancies on the sand, and they don't. It may be for one night, but it just stays booked now. So I can't hardly get a place. I'd have to really book way in advance. So maybe I need to do that some.
Yeah.
But so anyway, I have big news. So my oldest son got engaged this weekend. So I texted Mandy, and well, when she was over here last week, I kind of told her about it, and it was supposed to happen like 3 weeks down the road. Mm-hmm. So I was like, yeah, it'll happen in a few weeks. And we met on a Tuesday night. Mm-hmm. And then the next day, my son came over, and so he and his fiance's name is Ashley. So he and Ashley have friends that just got engaged like 2 weeks ago. And I haven't
my
told you this
gosh.
yet. So he said, Mom, you're not going to believe this. I was texting my friend, telling him when I was going to propose in case they wanted to, be down there. And he said that that's the weekend they're having their engagement party. So
no.
the day that Blake was going to propose was the day of their engagement party. So, he still could have done it, but then they would have shown up at an
Right.
engagement party newly engaged. And he was wanting to do it in Auburn, so it had to be like a game day weekend. Mm-hmm. And there's only 3 more weekends that Auburn has a game.
Right.
That was going to be one of them. And then this past weekend was one. And then, of course, the Iron Bowl. So I said, well, you can do it this weekend if you want. But we were worried about the photographer because, again, this was Wednesday night.
Right.
So he texted me at like 10 Wednesday night and said, I'm going to do it this weekend. I said, okay. So he was like with the photographer the next day, just going back and forth on text. Fortunately, she was available.
Thank goodness.
Yes. So anyway, so he handled all of that Thursday, and then I finally got around to texting you maybe Friday, I think, because I was so busy right here just saying, it's happening tomorrow, I think is what I told you. I don't even really remember. I said, it's a long story, but it's happening tomorrow. So I had talked to the photographer a little bit when Blake was over here because we were just trying to get some logistics together. And she was not going to be able to contact Blake Saturday morning when they were driving down there because he was going to be with Ashley in the car.
Right.
And so this is a 2-hour drive for Blake and Ashley and the photographer. So I, of course, am on Live 360 all Saturday morning watching Blake's location. So I texted the photographer and I was like, I'll keep you up to date on where they are. So I'm watching him the whole time. He's supposed to be there at like 12:15, 12:30. And I could see when he left, of course, they were running behind.
Yes.
So I'm thinking, oh my gosh, they're
But
running
also
behind.
game day traffic. Oh
Well,
my
yeah,
gosh.
fortunately it was going to be a night game.
Right.
So that was going to help some, but they went ahead and made reservations just to make sure they had an area up on the rooftop, like restaurant. It's kind of like a restaurant bar, but it's on the rooftop of a hotel down in Auburn. So anyway, I'm thinking they're going to give his table away or something, He doesn't even know this, but I called the hotel and I was like, they're running late. It looks like he's going to be 30 minutes late. Don't give his area away. I kept watching him. And so then I would text the photographer saying they're pulling in the deck, they're walking up. Anyway, I sat here for probably an hour. By the time when he proposed, from when they FaceTimed me, it had been like an hour, which I knew that they were going to be taking pictures and all that. They have pictures and the video. I don't think I've shown you the video.
No, I haven't seen
And
it.
I don't know if I posted that online or not. Anyway, there's a video. And so while Blake is proposing, you can hear the chimes going off in the background from, I don't know if it's Sanford or one of the churches. But anyway, you can hear the chimes, that go off at a certain time. Blue skies. It was just a gorgeous scenery. And I thought to myself, I was stressed all morning about him running late and getting there, at a certain time, and he was going to, miss this and miss that. And had he gotten there on time, when he would have proposed, those chimes wouldn't have been going off. And not that it would have mattered, but I think it just added to the whole experience when you can just kind of hear that going off in the background. So
And
it worked out perfectly.
Yeah.
Perfectly.
It always does.
It always
And we
does.
stress ourselves out over the friend that I was with. Shout out if you're listening. But the friend that I was with, it was kind of cold and windy, when I got down there. And she was like, oh, sorry, it's cold and windy. And she's like us, just control of everything. And she's like, I'm in control of the weather, And so we made a joke about it, about the weather being cold and windy and that how it's all her fault.
Because she invited you on the wrong weekend.
Right. And
yeah.
so I think we do that to ourselves where we believe subconsciously that we are responsible for keeping the world on its axis, which is kind of funny because we can't control anything ultimately. So,
well, and ultimately it seemed to have worked out better the way that it ended up versus the way I would have wanted it to go.
Right. And who knows what would have happened if he had done it, 3 weeks from now or 2 weeks from now.
It could have been pouring down rain.
Yeah. And so I was so excited living vicariously through you. I was like, oh my gosh, it's happening. And you sent me the picture and it was just really sweet. So I know they're super excited and are looking forward to, picking a date and getting all that worked out. So I know you're excited about the plans.
Yeah, I'm very excited. And, Will got to, his apartment is just across the street from where this hotel is. And so afterwards, like probably 15 minutes after Blake had proposed, he texted Will. So Will and his girlfriend got to walk over there. So they're in some of the pictures. So, his brother got to be down there to be a part of that and experience it. But yeah, I'm super excited. So the next day, Sunday, this wasn't even 24 hours later, okay? I text Blake and Ashley, and I was like, y'all been looking at wedding venues yet? Thinking that she was going to be like, yes, because you just think that's what brides do. And they're just like, it's tunnel vision on picking
Yeah.
a date and finding a venue. And so Blake didn't even respond. And then Ashley was like, well, no, prepping for the week because they do food prep on Sundays. And so they were just, it's almost like, no, we got big people things to do over here.
Right.
We're prepping for the week. And I'm sitting here like secretly Googling wedding venues like all over the state.
Oh my
Just to have
gosh.
some ideas. Not that they've asked for my opinion.
I know.
But,
How dare they?
Right.
Like the nerve. Well, and, Blake's in school and trying to finish up. And so they probably are just taking one step at a time where we're like super excited about everything.
They got a lot going on. Ashley works full time. You know, they were doing things on Sunday. Blake is in school full time still. So,
Yeah. Well, speaking of meal prep, I came home last night. All of you know Eden now, but I came home last night and he was all in the kitchen chopping up some chicken, and he's like doing his meal prep, but wanted Mom to fix the mac and cheese. And, I've been very open about the pounds that just chase me down. And so I'm like, of course I'm making the mac and cheese because I want some of it. But I did not eat it. I want to say that for the record. I did not eat it. I ate a piece of meat and some sweet potato
that's good
for
for
dinner. And a little bit of avocado because you need a fat. But anyway, so I digress on the meal prep.
I will say, I'm not going to talk about it tonight because I feel like I have talked about my health journey all season, with a dietitian and all that. But I'll talk about it in the spring some because I will have already been through this, and we'll see where I am 5 months from now. I will say quickly, one of the things that I've learned is, despite what we're told, carbs are not the enemy.
No.
And you hear that online,
No.
and they're really not, because I've not cut out carbs. Now, I may not eat as much, or I don't eat some of the bad carbs, but like I still eat potatoes. I eat white potatoes. I eat sweet potatoes. I had brown rice last night in my stuffed pepper. So, point is, it's about calories and it's about the types of food that you eat. And I had mac and cheese. I sent a picture of it to my dietitian because I'm sending her my food, my plate. And we had gotten some barbecue and like macaroni and cheese and collards and I think baked beans. And I wanted the mac and cheese. So instead of making a sandwich, I just had the meat because I didn't want to have the bread and the mac and cheese. But I put it all on my plate and showed her, and she was like, I think that's great. It's about balance. That was a good choice that you made because you wanted the mac and cheese. So you had what you wanted.
And didn't eat the bread.
Yeah. And it wasn't piled on there. But that's just what I wanted. And I rarely have mac and cheese.
Well, carbs are not the enemy. And I will say, though, I know someone who was having all kinds of issues. And she cut out everything and did just straight keto.
Yeah.
And, immediately dropped a lot of weight. But she was also having other health issues. And by cutting everything out and slowly adding some things back, she was able to kind of determine food sensitivities, all of those things. So, I think you have to do what works best for you and your body and your situation and your lifestyle.
Absolutely.
But, Taco Bell at 10 o'clock ain't it.
No.
Even though I would like for it to be.
Right.
But no, carbs are not the enemy, but you're right. It is 100% about balance. And if you're eating it with a protein, you can't just sit around and eat potato chips.
Right.
Like when you want to.
Well, and honestly, it's not sustainable just to sit around and eat meat.
No.
Either,
No, not for me.
I mean, well, I don't think it's healthy for anybody to do that, especially long term. I mean, you might drop some weight, but I can't imagine that it's good for your heart.
Yeah.
Or your cholesterol if you're just always eating red meat, I should say, not meat. But
well, and I for sure, anybody that knows me, I'm not a vegan. I am not a vegetarian. I like meat. But me just sitting down and eating a slab of meat, I could almost be a vegetarian. Like, I know I need protein in my diet, but I kind of like meat incorporated into things. Like, I love roast. Like, I'll eat a roast, I'll cook a roast, but I don't want all the fatty meat. You know, if I'm going to eat steak, I'm going to get a fillet.
Right, me
because
too.
I don't want all the fatty meat. Like, I don't like all
It's
the
gristly,
fat. It's
yeah.
gristly.
Yeah.
Can't eat it. And so, you know, I remember growing up and being like at my grandmother's house, and they've got this big country ham with this big hunk of fat on the
Yeah.
side. And, you know, I'm just getting the veggies. You know, I'm not a vegetarian, but it's like I can't just eat this hunk of meat.
Yeah.
Like, it's got to be lean. Like, I'll even sit there and pick the lean off my bacon. Like, I'll eat
Yeah, I don't
some
like it too fatty.
But gosh, it is just a struggle. And I know a lot of people like that.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what the answer is. It's just trying to eat like lean protein, like chicken, you know,
Yeah.
or ground beef in something like chili or taco salad or something. But
Well, I love vegetables, so it's easy for me to
too.
eat vegetables. But those stuffed peppers I made last night, the recipe called for ground beef, but I
Yeah.
just used ground chicken.
Yeah.
But I used all the same seasonings that the recipe called for,
Mm-hmm.
and you know when they're actually really good. I mean, the filling was so good. So
Mm-hmm.
it's ground chicken with just seasonings and like a can of Rotel, and like onions and garlic. You know, nothing
Yeah.
about that's bad for you.
I made, and I know we're not talking about recipes, but stuffed peppers, like what you're talking about. I made some with cauliflower rice,
That's a good idea.
ground turkey, and I put Rayo's
Yeah.
spaghetti sauce in it, and then put some seasonings. And it was delicious. You know, just put a little bit of cheese on top and bake it, and it was amazing.
That's a good idea.
And, you know, it's not a lot of trouble. It just depends on your scale. What is a lot of trouble
Yeah.
after you've been at work all day? Like, the meal prep is way to go, but I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, I'm not a meal prep kind of person, and I even have the time to do it. I just don't enjoy it, and it's just a lot of work. It's a lot to keep in your refrigerator.
Yeah.
My refrigerator stays jam packed as it is.
Yeah.
Like so I can't be having 10 Tupperware dishes in there of
Yeah.
meal prep. But the other thing about those peppers is it also called for brown rice, so that was also in the mixture. So you got chicken and brown rice, which is a good carb. And then, you know, the vegetables, obviously, with the pepper. So it's actually a healthy meal. And I never think to make stuffed peppers. And I had 2 and was so full. My dietitian was like, was 2 enough for you? And I said, oh, yeah. Because they were jam packed. I mean, there was a lot of chicken and rice in those. So, yeah, carbs are not the enemy.
No.
It just, you know, you've got to know how your body's going to react to food, because all of our bodies are different. Our metabolism's different and all the other issues. So you just got to figure it out. And
Yeah.
it for me certainly is a journey, and it's, you know, a learning process, and just the way that you look at food and how your body reacts to food and exercise.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
for
not
sure.
fun. It's not
No,
fun.
It's not. And it's not for the weak.
No, it's
Being
not.
a 50-plus-year-old woman. It's not for the weak.
Well, it definitely will teach you discipline, or get you back on the discipline train, because
Yeah.
you have to be.
Yeah. So how has it been for you emotionally with Blake being engaged? I mean, I know you're super excited
Yeah.
about it, but has it, you know, pulled at any threads for you?
A little bit. You know, I knew it was coming because he bought the ring a couple months ago, which is a whole nother ordeal, I'll have to say on another podcast. So I think even once he bought the ring, it was still just kind of in the back of my mind.
Wasn't real.
Yeah, it was just like, okay, it's going to be in the future. But there's also a part of me that gets kind of stressed about it, because it's like, now it's a secret that has to be kept. And I can't tell anyone because I'm afraid that person may slip up and say anything. And like my sister was over here for Halloween, and I did not tell her or my nieces because I did not want something to slip up. So like the whole thing's been a little bit stressful for me. I just kind of wanted it to be over with so then we can enjoy the moment. But Yeah, like mentally, it just takes you to a different level because now it's real. It's like they're fiancés, they're not boyfriend and girlfriend. And, they've been dating for almost exactly 3 years. So now I'm looking ahead quickly. So I'm thinking about like wedding again. They haven't asked my opinion, but surely, my opinion will matter. But it's just like, you think about the wedding and everything that leads up to that. And then like, where will they live? And then it's like Ashley is not just a girlfriend anymore. Like now she's my son's fiance and this is my future daughter-in-law. It just all sounds so strange to say. And when I was thinking about this earlier, out of us two, we have 5 children total, and none of them are married. And so this is the first engagement. So like for us two, because you'll be right along for the ride, it's new territory. And so it's navigating. All of our kids are officially adults.
Yes.
So we have adult children, and we've talked about navigating life with adult children.
Yes.
But I don't know. Maybe I'm making a big deal about it, and it won't be as big of a deal as it seems. But just having an in-law, I don't know. It's just I haven't really grasped the concept of it yet. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm struggling with my words. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
I do. And I think it's a metamorphosis into another level of that relationship. So this is uncharted territory. When Blake and Will went to college, we talked about this last week. When Blake and Will went to college, you had that experience before because of Brooklyn. But when Brooklyn went, you didn't have that experience.
Right.
So it's uncharted territory. And it's another one of those things that you have to navigate and say, okay, I'm the parent, but where is the line?
Yeah.
Where is that boundary drawn? Because this will be a lifelong covenant for the two of them. And it is a leave and cleave situation. So it won't be mom making decisions anymore. And it won't be mom, hopefully that bond is strong enough. And I know it is with you and Blake, but hopefully as an adult and a parent, there's still that coming to you for advice when things get hard or asking for your opinion on things. But it's uncharted territory. Now you're not number one. You're not the number one woman in his life. And as if I think about it too much, I'm going to burst into tears because I have 2 boys, and I know that time will come. And I'm going to have to step aside, and that will be the number one woman in their life. And that's hard as a parent, and it's a new place to go with your relationship where where I say, hey, we're friends now. Now it's even beyond that. I know that's got to be in the back of your mind is how is this relationship going to be moving forward when I don't have the say so that I did.
Well, and it's like we've talked about this before as well. You raise them to be independent. So I know that once my boys and my daughter gets married, their spouse is number one. And I want it to be that way. I really do. And that's how it should be. I mean, that causes a lot of problems if it's not. And quite frankly, I don't want to be that number one person anymore. Right. I mean, there's a sense of freedom as a parent when there are certain things that you don't have to know about.
Yes.
And there are certain decisions that you don't have to help make.
Yep.
It's freeing to really not know about certain things, or be in the mix of all that. So, I think I can handle that well. I think I was just thinking like in this particular instance, like with the wedding, I don't want to overstep my boundaries, which my kids say I do all the time. And maybe I do, but I don't want to. I want to be helpful. As I like to say to my kids all the time, here's my unsolicited advice. So it's about giving unsolicited advice versus just zipping it and not saying anything or, just being like a lending ear.
So I know that's got to be like different for, from an emotional aspect too, from your mama heart, right? Because again, it's uncharted territory. It's another phase of life where, your child is moving on to a different relationship and phase in his life. And I know that you are going to miss him, even though he's not been at home. It's still a thing of, well, he's not going to be home, right? Because he's going to be married. He's going to be a married grown man.
Yeah.
But I also think, it helps when you have a really good relationship with your child and the person they're marrying.
Absolutely. We adore Ashley. And I don't know if I've ever told you this, but I told Jeffrey the second time that we met her, I told him they will get married.
You told me.
Okay.
You said the first time that you met her, you felt like she was the one.
Yeah. So I still remember the first night we met her. It was right before Christmas, like a couple of weeks before Christmas. And we usually decorate gingerbread houses. And we were decorating that night, and Blake had asked if she could come over to decorate. So she came over. That's the first night. I even remember still standing in my kitchen and her walking in, and we were all giving Blake a hard time about something. I don't remember. And I think I kind of made a joke about how, within seconds of meeting her, like we're all joking around with Blake, making fun of him about something or whatever. It was probably overwhelming for her, but I could just feel something. I could just see something different about how he interacted with her and how she interacted with him. It was just different than what I had seen before with some of the girls he dated. Nothing against the girls, just, how you interact with one another.
Yeah.
And then the second time we're around her, I told Jeffrey, I said, they will end up getting married. I just knew for some reason. And so here we are 3 years later. But I will say, I consider myself very lucky that my son has chosen Ashley, and just to have chosen the type of person that she is. She's such a sweet, kind person. She really is. She's always very respectful to Jeffrey and I, and she gets along great with Brooklyn and Will. And so she fits right in. And, unfortunately, I know that's not the case for everyone. And there may be tension with your children's significant other.
Yeah.
So I'm very, very lucky and blessed and happy to have her become a part of our family. I really am. I'm thrilled for the both of them. And Jeffrey is too.
Yeah. I've only been around her a couple of times over here, but every time it's like she falls right in. And then, when you guys go on vacation or anything, and I've seen pictures, it's like one big happy family. Like she's just right in there, and it's, it doesn't feel forced. And that's just from an outsider's perspective, but it doesn't feel forced or look forced. It looks like, they were just kind of meant to be. So that's really a fun culmination to kind of sit back and have a front row seat to that. I know you're proud as his mom. And
even when I watched the proposal video, because I've seen, the pictures that they've sent me, but even watching the snippet of that video, I've watched it a million times, and sometimes when I'm watching it, I'm focused on Ashley and her reaction, and then the other times I'm focused on Blake. And so it's such small, minor details, but watching Blake, he seems so calm and happy. And there's one time, I don't think it's anything they've posted because it's not the entire video, but there's a point where somebody says something. I don't know if it's the photographer or their friend videoing. And so like he's already looking up at Ashley, but he kind of looks back like this at whatever the person said. And it's like he still has this grin on his face when he's looking at her. And so when he looks back, he still has it, and he almost kind of giggles about something. But it's not like a deer in headlights or like somebody
Right.
that was nervous asking. It wasn't like an awkward interaction or anything like that. It just seemed very calm and like it's what he wanted to do. And he was in the moment and he was enjoying the moment. Mm-hmm. And then there's a picture. I don't know if I've shown you or not either. I forget what they've posted and what I've seen versus what I've posted, but it's the picture afterwards where Blake's like holding up his hand, like he's going, yay, that they got engaged. So I can just tell that he was just thoroughly in the moment, just enjoying every bit of it.
Yeah.
So
which makes that transition for you easier. It's kind of like we talked about when your child goes off to school, when they're happy.
Oh, yeah.
It's hard to be sad when they left because you feel so happy for them and enjoy them coming into their own.
Yeah.
But, well, that kind of brings me to another point. I mean, this has been a big year for you.
Yeah.
A big year.
It has.
I mean, like not to speak for you, but just again, looking outside, looking in, this has been a big year. You know, you've had, this dietitian thing going on, this workout plan, this diet. You've had Will go to school, and now you've got this engagement. I mean, you've had a lot going on. So I guess retrospectively, what are your thoughts about this year?
Before I answer that, it's funny that you mention it because earlier today, when I was making notes, and it really wasn't. I mean, I was kind of going over in my head like the past season and things that we've talked about versus the past two. And I was actually thinking that last year you did.
Yeah.
You know, and the year before really, but last year you had so much going on with, you know, getting divorced and then, you know, buying your own home and then dating and all that was last year, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's my thought.
Yeah.
So it's so funny that everything that we've had going on. And then I know when we started off, I think it was this season or maybe into last season, I remember telling you how proud I was of how far you've come and thinking back on that year and a half when you were going through all of your junk and to see where you were on the other end. And then, you know, here I am going through whatever this health journey is and trying to find my own on that. And then with my kids going off to school and Blake getting engaged, I feel like I've done fairly well. I mean, I've had my moments.
Sure.
But I think it's been a positive transition. I honestly, it really has been one that I've wanted. I miss my kids terribly, and it hasn't been as much of an adjustment as I thought it would be, just being in our home with just my husband and I. And I think some of that is what we touched on earlier. This is how you raise your children. You raise your children to one day leave the nest and be able to take care of themselves, make good decisions, and just be a good person. And that's what I've wanted. And I'm in my 50s. I'm ready for my kids to be out and me move into the next phase of having in-laws and having grandchildren and just having a different decade of my life, so to speak. And I really am ready for it. And I say that I don't like change, and I really don't for the most part. I think it's the newness of it, and it's the unknown that gets me in my head.
Sure.
Because I like comfort and security. And so when there's not a lot of changes going on, I feel more safe. The changes and the unknowns it makes me insecure and it makes me worry. And I don't want to be like that.
Yeah.
So that's another thing I've been working on this past year.
Yeah. And I think change, number one, we all know change is inevitable.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. We're going to age. We're going to have different phases. But I think, you know, for the most part, we say we hate change, but there are some things that we like. We like to change. We like the changing of the seasons. We like it if we have a new, exciting opportunity at work, or
True.
we like, you know, there are some positive changes, but I think what it boils down to is when your world revolves on an axis around your children and that certain phase, it feels a little strange for it to be kind of slipping away and in a different way. But I'm trying to embrace it too. And, Eden graduated this year, moved back home. That was a fairly big deal. His dog is tearing up my yard, and that's a whole nother situation. But I've traveled a lot this year. I think, change is just change, and we have to embrace it.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not, but that's the human experience and that's life. I think for me, being a control freak, I like to control
me
the
too.
change. And that's not realistic, and that's not sustainable either. If you are controlling everything around you, then it's exhausting.
It is, absolutely. And then you can grow resentful for feeling like you're the one that's always got to take care of whatever's going on.
Yes. Yes.
And you feel like you have no help, and, the burden is on your shoulders to take care of everything.
Yeah. And we both struggle with that.
Yeah, for sure.
We both ate a little piece of that.
My husband would tell you that real quick.
Yeah.
And my kids.
Yeah.
Probably my brother and sister too.
So I guess, retrospectively talking about too our show, our little podcast, I mean, to me, it's morphed. It's been great. It's had its bumps because of all of the audio and video challenges that you had to deal with. But I like where we are. I really like this season. I'm looking forward to next season.
Well, it's interesting that we were talking about not liking change for the most part, because every season this podcast has been something different.
Yeah.
We've been in a different location. This is now the third room
Yep.
that we've done this in.
Yep.
And even when I'm editing all the videos, I'm always thinking, okay, we're not going to be in that room next season. Or what are we going to do differently? Like, I'm always trying to figure out how we can make it better, or the table to not look so cluttered, or, just the angle. And so I'm always thinking about what the next season will look like and how we can do things differently and better.
Yeah.
So,
and we would love suggestions. I mean, I know we don't really get them, but
No.
we would love to get suggestions. I love our kind of favorite things, and
I do too.
hopefully I have some dating stories next year because,
Hopefully.
really.
I will say one thing that, and I'm just going to be critical of myself. Sometimes I felt like this season we were almost too serious. And some of
agree.
the things that we talked about, and we tried to go in a more lax direction where, like the seasons before, we knew exactly what we were going to be talking about, the subject that we were going to be talking about, and we really stuck to that for the whole 45 minutes or an hour. And then, you kind of run out of things to talk about unless you're going to talk about the same subjects over and over.
Right.
And we even discussed that maybe having more guests on. I think that would help. And it gives it a different vibe, and you can talk about something differently, because I really enjoyed when Eden was here last week. But I felt like sometimes, because I'm so, into my notes, or I'm trying to think about what to talk about because it's not as planned, and I'm not looking at my notes as much versus last season when we were remote and I could do that. I don't know. I have it sitting here, but I'm worried about people are going to wonder why she's looking at her notes, which is so stupid. That's what you do, when you talk about things. But I feel like I've been a little bit more chaotic in that way and not as structured. And I don't know, it's almost been a little bit more somber versus lighthearted. That first season, we were laughing about everything.
Oh, yeah.
And, I didn't get that vibe I didn't get that vibe as much this season.
Yeah, I think we've been much more serious.
Yeah.
I'm good for a little jokey joke every now and then, and I've always got to say something funny to break the tension. But I think we have been a lot more serious. But I also think we have been talking about more serious subjects.
Yeah, maybe.
And I do like that, you and I never run out of things to talk about, and we're able to talk off the cuff. I really like that. I'm not a planner, read the notes. Like I might have some statistics on my phone or something if we're talking about a specific subject, but I'm much more conversational anyway. And so I like this season, but I do think we need to inject a little more humor into it next year
I agree.
season 1 for me was just the pinnacle.
Yeah.
We really had
And
a
it was,
great time.
honestly, it was more of a shit show.
It was, but it worked well.
And, I almost lost my mind, and we would have been recording from a mental institution the next season. But,
well, we may be.
If we could just kind of go back to that vibe with the better audio, and I still struggle sometimes with the audio. Like this past week, it wasn't perfect because there was 3 of us here. So now, I've got to figure that out. But if we could somehow just mesh the energy from season 1 to the audio and the setup, from this past season, I think it would help. So, but we got some talking to do, but we'll figure it out.
We do.
We'll be back.
We do.
Hopefully.
We'll always be back, whether we're recording or not.
That's right.
So I guess thinking forward to 26, what plans do you have personally or with the podcast? Or, we talked about that a little bit just now.
Yeah. I've been saying that Jeffrey and I have thought about moving, and that has sort of been on our minds. And then we actually had a conversation last night about it, and now we may put it off. So I don't know what we're going to do or where we're going to be. So I don't know. Jeffrey and I, one day we want to stay here and be here, and then the next day we don't. And we love where we're at, but so I don't know where we're going to be. And then I think just personally, for an individual goal, obviously it's still learning more about my health and my diet and exercising. And that's just what's got to be a priority for me right now. I'm just at the age where that has to be a priority.
Yeah.
And I've just got to get a handle on it, and I've got to learn more about, and I've never had a bad relationship with food. I don't want to sound like one of those that talks about how, I eat if I'm depressed or I eat if I'm happy. Like I've never had a bad relationship with food, but at my age, I do need to learn how to consume things that are healthy for my body. And not just so much physically speaking, but just, mentally it helps you, and you sleep better and you feel more rested and you think more clearly. And I want to be around as long as I can for my kids and my grandkids. And I don't want to have a heart attack because I've got clogged arteries because I like food.
Yeah.
So I think that's really going to be my main goal for next year. And I've thought about some things the past few episodes. Even when Eden was here last week, it made me think about how I interact with my children sometimes. And like we touched on earlier, learning how to navigate with adult children, because that does have to change a bit. How often you interject yourself in their business. And when you step back, or when you give that unsolicited advice, and then when you don't. So I think that's going to be a struggle for me. And, I've already had some, I don't want to say issues, but like with my youngest son, I told y'all about the text he sent me, right after he went off to school, about me just kind of backing off. And so I'm having to learn how to do that with him. And, I've got to learn how to do that with Blake and Ashley now that they're on this new path. And I have to catch myself with Brooklyn sometimes. She's 32, and I still try to tell her maybe what she needs to be doing. So I'm just rambling. But personally, as a mom, I've got to work on my communication with my children. As a woman and a mother and a wife, I've got to work on my health. And then, as a friend, with what you and I have going on with this podcast, we want it to be the best that it can be.
Sure.
Neither one of us want to be stressed doing it.
No.
This is fun for us, and we both want that to continue.
Yes.
But we also want to try to put the best product out there, being the amateurs that we are.
Yes.
You've got to put in a little bit of work to do this, but it's not a full-time job for us.
Right.
So it's going to look not as, put together as some of the other podcasts out there. And And that's fine. That, we're not those people, but we still want people to enjoy listening to us or watching us, whether it's audio or video.
Well, and I've seen some very professional podcasters that have no better setup than we do. You know, some of the conversations that they have, some of the views that they have, or the shots are no better than what we're doing right now. So I'm very proud of you for how far this has come, because it's all you. I work a lot, travel a lot. That's a personal goal for me, believe it or not, is to travel more personally, not travel more. I'm going to be traveling with work, but I would say doing things like going on vacation. Like, I don't do those things.
No.
And typically, it's been, my life has kind of revolved around work, but also I don't have a lot of extra funds to go do those things. Now that my son is out of college, hopefully I'm going to be able to start gaining ground there.
Yeah.
But, like I said, holding on to that bicycle seat and finally starting to let go of some of those things and fly, be free out of the nest, that's a big deal for me. And so hopefully I'll be able to start traveling a little bit more myself. And always fitness, diet, all those things that never go away.
Yeah.
And then, putting myself back out there. I joke a lot about dating or whatever, but I'm a complete hermit. I'm not on any apps, not meeting anybody, not talking to anybody. They're going to have to be a repairman and come on, knock on the door. But I'm thinking, I may need to put myself back out there again and just see what's out there. If nothing else, it's good content.
For sure. For sure.
But I have a very full life, and I know that that's what's keeping me sane is, having a lot going on.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, I know you think it would be nice to have someone again. Mm-hmm. And I've always told you, I do think you'll eventually find someone again, but I also think that you don't necessarily need it.
I don't.
Like, you are fine the way that you are.
Yes.
And your life right now is fine. Mm-hmm. You've got it under control, and you've got it together, and you're happy. So, the rest will happen when it happens.
It will. And that just means that I'm not going to lower my standards.
That's right.
I'm not someone who has to have someone.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. You can be patient and picky.
Yep. So, who knows what next season holds, but I hope I have some good stories.
Me too.
Because we need some content.
Well, hopefully we'll be back in the spring.
Oh.
That's what we usually do.
We do. And how am I going to get off of this podcast without telling a funny story?
Go for it.
So, a friend of mine asked me to meet them before the Alabama game, grab some food, grab a drink, whatever, and then go watch the game at their house 2 weeks ago. Go in, sit down, order a drink, waiting on my friend, and I look across the bar, and who do I see? The person who I said we were texting no one. You said we're texting no one. The one that said not really, romantically inclined, whatever. You guys don't know that story. You're going to have to go back and look who it is sitting across the bar.
No way.
Yes.
Season 1, episode 1, if you want to hear the story.
Season 1, episode 1. And so he looks over, and
was he by himself?
He was, and I noticed him, and I just, kept on about my business. And then he looks down at me, and he's like, hey, and he's like, I thought that was you. And I was like, hey, how's it going? And, anyway, he said, I thought that was you, and I'm just watching some football. And I said, yep, same. And he's like, you been doing okay? He's like, having this conversation across the bar. And I said, yep, doing great. So my friend got there, we're ordering, having a drink, talking, whatever. When I got up to leave, I just got up and left. And I could just see him looking like he wanted me to turn around and be like, bye, call me.
Yeah.
I just got up and left. And so I thought, I've got to tell Lisa, I can't believe I forgot
That
to tell
is
you.
so funny. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
So you never know who you're going to run into. So watch who you ghost.
That's right. And there could have been sparks the second time. At that bar, you never know.
Could have been.
He might have gotten back on the app and tried to look you up.
Could have been. Well, I'm not on there, homie. Too late.
Should have kept your number.
Shouldn't have blown my number.
Shouldn't have gone green.
Because you're gonna get with this. You gotta keep that phone number. But
Oh, my
anyway,
gosh.
I was just like, wow. But you never know who you're gonna run into. But I thought it was funny.
That is funny.
And who knows? I'm not interested. I think his ego's a little large, but you never know who you're going to run into. So watch what you do.
Well, it's funny because when you said, and guess who I saw? Like, I had a million names going through my head. I didn't want to say any of them out loud.
Yeah, we don't talk about names. We only talked about one name.
That's right.
Also, season 1, episode 1.
That's right.
Yeah.
How funny. Well, it's been another great season.
It has.
All good things must come to an end.
That's right. And excited about next year. I know we're going to have a break, refresh,
Yeah.
especially you. You need a break from me and from, I need a break in my schedule. Lisa needs a break from me.
That's so funny. No, that's not true.
But I think we always get a break. We get our head together.
Yeah.
And then we kind of get back, to it. And I'm looking forward to next season.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. All right.
Well, all right, y'all. Go have some margaritas on us.
That's right.
Over the holidays.
And enjoy the end of the year. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy New Year, all the things.
Yep.
And we'll see you next year.
Bye.
Bye.